There are moments in life when everything looks quiet on the outside, while deep underneath that silence, whole futures are being moved into place. This is one of those moments. What you called delay, what you thought was distance, what made you question if the bond in your heart was only your imagination, was never empty space at all. It was preparation, it was timing, it was hidden motion behind doors you could not open yet. And now something has changed. Your person has just received news, fresh information, a sharp realization, a turning point they did not expect to arrive so soon. Something entered their world and broke the pattern they were following. Something made them stop in the middle of their normal life and feel the weight of what they can no longer push away. Do not ignore this moment just because you cannot see it yet. Not every life-changing shift comes with noise. Sometimes the strongest turning points begin in silence. One message, one truth landing at the exact second someone is finally ready to hear it. That is what is happening now. They are sitting with thoughts they can no longer escape. Thoughts of you, thoughts of what they lost, thoughts of what they almost trained themselves to live without. And maybe the part that shakes them most is this. The news they received did not only change what is around them, it changed how they see everything. Stay with me, because this next part matters. What once felt good enough now feels empty. Distractions feel thin. Noise feels heavy. Temporary things look exactly like what they are, temporary. And right in the center of that inner wake-up, your name, your energy, your place in their heart has become impossible to silence. Because sometimes a person does not understand what matters most until life pushes them into a moment that makes them question everything. That moment has reached them now. They are starting to see that what they felt for you was never casual. It was never just attraction. It was never convenience. It was never a passing feeling that would fade if they stayed busy long enough. It was deeper than they wanted to admit. That is why, no matter how much time passed, no matter how many distractions came and went, no matter how hard they tried to keep moving without facing what lived inside them, you remained, still in their heart, still in their mind, still in the quiet corners of their life where truth always speaks the loudest. And this recent shift, this sudden news, this interruption they did not plan for, has broken loose every excuse they once used to delay what they feel. The walls are starting to crack. The resistance is getting weaker. The emotional distance they kept between you is beginning to fall under the weight of truth. But hear this clearly. This change did not happen because they became a different person overnight. It happened because life has finally brought them to a place where pretending no longer works, where running no longer feels easier than surrender, where the future they imagined without you now feels strangely incomplete. That is not random, that is awakening. And while you have been wondering if your waiting meant anything, while you have asked yourself why your heart could not fully let go, while part of you kept sensing that something between you was unfinished, you were not making it up. You were feeling movement before proof arrived. Some bonds are felt long before they are understood. Some changes happen in the spirit before they appear in the world. If this is touching something deep in you, keep listening, because the story is not done yet. There is another truth you need to hear. The news they received did more than stir emotion. It created contrast. It showed them what life looks like when they keep settling. It showed them how empty a path can feel when it does not match the heart. It revealed how much of their life has been built around avoiding vulnerability instead of choosing what is real. And that kind of realization can shake a person all the way through. Because once somebody sees clearly, they cannot go back to not seeing. Once truth enters the room, illusion loses its power. That is why their thoughts have felt heavier lately. That is why their nights feel different. That is why they keep replaying memories they once tried to bury. That is why they wonder what would happen if they reached out. Why they imagine conversations that have not happened yet. Why they hear your voice in memory more clearly than before. The heart gets loud when denial gets tired, and theirs is getting tired now. Do not mistake silence for inaction. Do not mistake delay for absence. There are seasons when people are changing inside before they move outside. And that hidden inner change matters more than most people understand. Because when someone comes toward you from confusion, fear, or half-readiness, they often repeat the same old patterns. But when they come after truth has reshaped them, after clarity has humbled them, after life has shown them what really matters, they arrive differently. More honest, more direct, more intentional, more ready. That is why the waiting had to be longer than you wanted. This was never only about bringing two people together. It was about making sure both hearts reached the same place prepared, and now something inside them is speeding up. The realization is no longer distant or abstract. It is becoming urgent, not wild, not reckless, but impossible to ignore. They are beginning to feel that if they wait much longer, they may lose the chance to tell you what has stayed unspoken for far too long. That thought is shaking them because for the first time, the idea of losing you feels more painful than the fear of opening their heart. Let that sink in. The idea of losing you now hurts more than the fear of being vulnerable. That is a turning point. Not everyone reaches before it is too late. But this story has not arrived too late. It has arrived at the edge of now or never. Can you feel the difference? This is not random emotion. This is not a soft wave of nostalgia passing through at midnight. This is the kind of inner shift that changes behavior. The kind that makes someone who hesitated begin to plan. The kind that makes them rethink conversations, distance, timing, barriers, and all the reasons they once believed nothing could move. Because when the heart becomes certain, obstacles start to look smaller. What once looked impossible starts to look worth the risk. They are moving toward that truth step by step, thought by thought, moment by moment, and even if they have not acted fully yet, the direction of their heart has changed. That matters more than you think, because everything outside begins inside first. Action starts in the unseen. First the heart shifts, then the mind lines up, then courage grows, then movement begins. You may be watching only the earliest stage of that process, but it is unfolding. Even now, even if your eyes have no proof yet, there is a reason the energy feels different, even from a distance, even if you have not heard from them, even if you have not seen their name on your screen. Something inside you keeps whispering that the air has changed. That feeling is not meaningless. Trust it, and stay with me, because what comes next may explain exactly why your spirit has been so restless. After that news reached them, after that realization settled into their chest, they did not simply go back to life as usual. They tried to walk through their routine. They tried to act normal. They tried to pretend that everything was fine and nothing had shifted. But something inside them would not allow it, because once truth enters the heart fully, normal life starts to feel unnatural. That is exactly where they are now. What used to distract them does not distract them the same way anymore. What used to entertain them now feels empty. Conversations that once filled their time now feel shallow. The things they used to avoid their feelings are losing their effect. Why? Because when someone finally understands what their heart truly wants, everything else starts sounding like noise, and they are learning that now. The more they sit with this truth, the more one question keeps returning to them. What if I waited too long? That thought has started haunting their quiet moments. Not because they believe you are gone forever, but because for the first time they understand that delay has a cost. They understand that hearts are not meant to wait endlessly, that chances can be missed, that people grow tired of guessing, that love left unspoken for too long can slowly drift into distance. Suddenly the idea that there will always be more time no longer comforts them. It unsettles them, it presses on them, it wakes them up. They are beginning to replay each moment when they could have come closer but did not. Every sign they ignored, every chance they delayed, every moment fear spoke louder than desire, every time pride kept them silent. Regret has a way of forcing truth into the light, not the kind of regret that destroys, the kind that clarifies, the kind that makes a person face who they have been and who they no longer want to stay. That confrontation has started, and it is changing them from the inside out. They are seeing themselves with more honesty now. They are seeing the ways fear shaped their choices. They are seeing how hesitation cost them peace. They are seeing how often they protected themselves from pain, only to create a different kind of pain completely. The pain of distance, the pain of wondering, the pain of carrying feelings they never had the courage to speak. And now they are reaching a simple but life-changing conclusion. If they keep doing nothing, nothing will change. It sounds obvious, but when a person truly accepts it, everything begins to move. That is why silent longing no longer feels enough to them. Thinking about you no longer feels enough, because sooner or later the heart gets tired of dreaming about what courage could build. At some point it starts demanding action, and their heart is getting close to that line. But before they move, there is still a battle happening inside, because clarity does not erase fear in 1 second, it just makes fear harder to defend. Part of them wants to rush toward you right now, part of them still shakes at the vulnerability it will require, part of them imagines the peace of finally speaking, part of them fears what happens if the moment does not go the way they hope. That tension is real, That hesitation is human, but this is what matters. Their fear is no longer stronger than their desire. And when desire becomes stronger than fear, movement stops being a question and starts becoming a matter of time. That is the stage they are entering now, not fantasy, not wishful thinking. Decision stage, the place where someone stops only feeling something and starts preparing to do something about it. They have begun practicing in their mind what they want to say. They are imagining how the first words might sound. Should they begin softly or honestly? Should they reveal everything at once or little by little? Should they explain the time, the silence, the distance? These thoughts are taking over more of their mind than they expected. Because when someone has hidden feelings for too long, speaking them becomes both terrifying and freeing. They know that once they open this door, nothing will stay the same. That is exactly why they delayed. But it is also exactly why they cannot delay forever. Some doors only get heavier the longer they stay closed. This one has become too heavy to hold shut much longer. Do not underestimate how serious this has become in their heart. This is not a passing emotional wave, not late-night loneliness dressed up as love, not temporary nostalgia. This is recognition. They are starting to understand that love is not only emotion, it is readiness, it is courage, it is responsibility, it is timing meeting maturity. That understanding is changing them. You may not fully see it yet, but the version of them who once hesitated endlessly is slowly fading. A new version is appearing, one shaped by reflection, one refined by regret, one awakened by truth, one no longer willing to let fear make every decision. And when that version fully rises, they will move, not halfway, not vaguely, not with mixed signals, but with intention, with honesty, with direction. So if silence has tempted you to believe nothing is happening, hear this clearly. Silence is not always stagnation. Sometimes silence is the sound of deep transformation happening where you cannot see it. Sometimes the quietest seasons create the loudest change. And the heart that once looked distant may be much closer to choosing you than you know, because even now they are standing near a decision that will shape what happens next. A decision between safety and vulnerability, between silence and truth, between staying still and finally stepping forward to claim what their heart has already chosen. Very soon they will have to decide, and if this part speaks to you, stay to the end, because the next shift is even stronger. What finally pushes them forward is not one huge dramatic breakdown. It is a quiet moment when everything becomes impossible to deny, a moment that looks ordinary on the outside, yet changes something deep within them forever. It might happen while they are alone, driving with no music, lying awake long after midnight, or staring out into a normal day while their mind drifts somewhere else. Or maybe it happens in the middle of a conversation that has nothing to do with you, until suddenly your memory rises with such force that they have to stop and breathe. And in that pause, the truth lands fully. Not as confusion, not as a question, but as certainty. They do not want a future where they never tried. That realization hits harder than they expected, because many people can survive heartbreak, but far fewer can live peacefully with regret. And they are starting to understand that regret would follow them far more deeply than rejection ever could. That is the threshold. That is the moment the heart stops negotiating with fear. Once someone decides they would rather risk vulnerability than spend years wondering what if, their energy changes completely. That is what is happening now. They are no longer only thinking about reaching out. They are preparing themselves to do it. Not one day far away, not eventually, soon, very soon. But before they contact you, something else is happening below the surface that matters even more than the contact itself. They are practicing honesty, not perfect lines, not polished speeches, honesty. They are facing the truth of what they want to say. How do they explain what they felt? How do they explain why they waited? How do they explain what changed? How do they speak emotions they kept hidden behind silence for too long? That next conversation may become one of the most important moments in both of your lives. And right before it happens, they are facing one final fear that humbles them more than anything else. Their last fear is not whether they feel something. They already know they do. It is not whether you mattered. They already know you did. Their last fear is this: what if I hurt them by waiting too long? That question is humbling them because they know silence has an effect. They know distance leaves marks. They know waiting can create wounds. A part of them wonders if time changed you, if maybe you got tired, if maybe you moved on inside, if maybe the door they left unopened too long is no longer open at all. That uncertainty is what makes them pause at the edge of action. Not because they want you less, but because wanting you now comes with the painful awareness that they may have to face the results of their delay. And still, even with that fear, they cannot stay away much longer. That is how strong this realization has become. Because when somebody moves even without knowing the outcome, that is not impulse, that is courage. They are becoming courageous slowly, deeply, truly. And the next move they make will not come from emotional chaos, it will come from emotional clarity. That is why when they finally reach out, the energy will feel different from before. You will notice it. The hesitation you once felt in them will be less. The uncertainty will not control their words the way it once did. They are not approaching from confusion anymore. They are approaching from decision. And there is a huge difference between those two states. Decision changes tone, decision changes posture, decision changes behavior. Someone undecided sends mixed signals. Someone who has decided moves with purpose. That is the version of them now taking shape. And there is something else you need to understand as well. This is not only changing how they feel, it is changing how they see you. They no longer see you as just someone they care about. They see you as rare, as someone not easily replaced, as someone whose absence taught them what your presence truly meant. Distance has a strange way of clarifying value. Sometimes it does that better than closeness ever could. And distance has clarified your value in their life more than they expected. They understand now. Not everyone makes the heart feel this way. Not everyone stays alive in memory like this. Not everyone remains present in the soul after silence. Not everyone becomes impossible to forget. You did. Because of that, they can no longer handle this bond casually. They can no longer act like time alone will fix what only honesty can heal. They can no longer pretend that if something is meant to be, then no action is needed. They understand now that destiny still asks for courage, that meaningful things still need movement, that even the deepest connection can remain unrealized if nobody is brave enough to act. So they are choosing bravery, maybe imperfectly, maybe nervously, maybe with shaking hands and a fast heartbeat, but bravery all the same. And when they move toward you, it will not be because someone pushed them, not because outside pressure forced them, not because circumstances trapped them, but because their own heart finally became louder than every excuse. That matters because what is chosen freely is always more powerful than what is chosen reluctantly. So if you have wondered whether they understand your worth now, yes, more than before. If you have wondered whether they truly grasp the depth of this bond, yes, more than before. If you have wondered whether they are genuinely moving toward action, yes, closer than before. But maybe the most striking part of all is that they are no longer asking themselves if they should reach out. That question is already answered inside them. Now they are only deciding how to begin, how to cross the silence, how to speak what stayed unsaid, how to tell you what they should have said long ago. And once a person moves from if to how, action is near, very near. So hold steady. This silence may be the last quiet before movement, the pause before the message, the stillness before the confession, the breath before the breakthrough. Keep listening, because this final turn carries the deepest truth of all. What they are preparing to say is not small, it is not casual, it is not an empty hey sent from boredom or loneliness. What is building in their heart carries weight because it has been forming for far too long, and the longer truth stays unspoken, the heavier it becomes. They are reaching the point where silence hurts more than honesty. That is why the message forming inside them feels different from anything before. When they finally speak, it may not come out perfectly. Their words may move slowly at first. There may be pauses. There may be moments where feeling interrupts language. Some emotions become so deep that words struggle to carry them. But under every sentence will be one clear truth. You never really left their heart. That realization has changed them. They are beginning to see that through all the distance, all the silence, all the distraction, all the effort to move on, something inside them stayed connected to you. Not in a temporary way, not in a passing emotional attachment, but in a quiet, steady way that remained under everything else. And now they want you to know. They want you to know that they remember more than they ever admitted. They want you to know that your absence touched them more deeply than they showed. They want you to know that losing your presence left an emptiness they could not replace. For a long time, they convinced themselves they could keep living around those feelings instead of facing them directly. But eventually, the heart gets tired of carrying truths it refuses to speak. That exhaustion is what finally broke their resistance. And now they are reaching for honesty, not because they became fearless overnight, but because the thought of never telling you has become harder to bear than the fear of saying it. And there is one more thing you need to understand. This moment is not only about love, it is also about responsibility. They are beginning to see how their silence affected you too. They are seeing how hesitation created confusion, how fear created distance, how delay may have hurt someone they deeply cared about. That awareness is humbling them, because when someone truly loves another person, eventually they stop focusing only on what they felt and begin noticing what the other person had to carry as well. That kind of emotional maturity changes everything. This is why the energy around them feels heavy, but also clean. The old inner conflict is breaking apart. They are no longer fighting the truth of this bond. They are no longer trying to convince themselves that you meant less than you did. They know now, and once someone truly knows, they cannot unknow it. That is why movement is getting closer, faster than before. But there is something beautiful here that you also need to see. This story is not only changing them, it changed you too. While they were learning the cost of silence, you were learning the value of yourself. You stopped leaving your peace behind just to chase clarity. You stopped measuring your worth by another person's readiness. You stopped begging life to pick you. And in doing that, you became stronger, not colder, not closed, stronger. You learned how to stand in uncertainty without falling apart. You learned how to love deeply without losing yourself. You learned how to keep your heart open while still protecting your peace. That growth matters, because if reconnection happens, it cannot live through the old version of either of you. It has to happen through the wiser versions that are rising now. That is why this season happened the way it did. The silence was painful, yes. The waiting was heavy, yes. But hidden inside it was transformation. Transformation in them, transformation in you. And now those separate changes are slowly guiding both of you back toward the same emotional crossroads again. Only this time, something is different. The truth is clearer, the feelings are admitted, the fear is losing power, and the heart is finally ready to choose. So carry this final truth with you. Do not lose yourself while waiting for timing to unfold. Yes, something is shifting. Yes, another heart is waking up to your value. Yes, movement is building behind the scenes, but your life is still yours to live fully now. Do not pause your joy while waiting for proof. Do not delay your healing while waiting for confirmation. Do not make your future smaller while hoping someone else becomes brave enough to meet you there. Stay open, stay grounded, stay at peace with yourself. What is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself in order to receive it. And if this bond truly is moving toward reunion, let it come naturally. Let it arrive through honesty. Let it arrive through effort. Let it arrive through courage that is freely chosen, not through pressure, fear, or desperation. The strongest love is never built through chasing. It is built when two people finally stop running from what their hearts already know, and they are closer to that realization now than ever before. Very close. So take a breath and trust what has been happening beneath the surface all along. Some endings are not endings. Some silences are not absence. Some delays are not rejection. Sometimes life pulls two people apart only long enough for truth to grow loud enough that neither heart can ignore it anymore. And that may be exactly where this story stands now. The message may be closer than you think. The confession may be nearer than it feels. The breakthrough may already be forming in the quiet. So keep your peace, keep your light, keep living. Because if this connection is real, it will not need you to chase it into existence. It will come forward through truth, through effort, and through brave hearts that are finally done hiding. And if this reached you at the exact moment you needed it, hold on to that feeling. Sometimes your spirit knows before your eyes can see.